Hi everybody, welcome to Line of the Week number 145, Motif Development Using Melodic Rhythms. This week I practiced improvising over tune by taking a rhythm, adding notes to it, and then developing it. The line I wrote is just an example. You can take the melodic rhythm I'll show you in a minute and try it yourself over your own tunes. One of the great things about going through these melodic rhythms and motifs is that it'll get you out of the rut you might be in. You'll play things that you wouldn't otherwise attempt to play. This will eventually make you a stronger improviser, in my opinion. Before I get to the line of the week, and so we're all on the same page, here are the chords to the progression. The chords are A flat major 7 to E major 7 to G flat 7 to A flat major 7 to D flat major 7 to C minor 7 to B flat minor 7 to E flat 7. Here are the chord scales I use. I use the notes from the chord scales for two things. First, as a source of notes for improvising, and secondly, to determine tensions to use for comping voicings. The chord scales I'm using today are E flat pentatonic to B major to D flat melodic minor to E flat pentatonic to A flat major to E flat pentatonic to A flat major to E melodic minor. Here's some melodic rhythm I'm using this week. The motif is from Jerry Bergonzi's book, Volume 4, Melodic Rhythms, Used with Permission. Here's the line of the week with Guitar Pro backing I use to make sure I'm getting the notes and the rhythm accurate. Generally speaking, the tools I use to develop motifs include the following. First, I start with the original motif. Second, variation, which means same notes, different rhythm. Third, extension, which means adding notes. Next, fragmentation, meaning using a part of the motif. Rhythmic displacement, meaning starting the motif on a different beat. Augmentation, meaning making the time values longer. And diminution, making the time values shorter. For example, diminution, taking 2/8 notes and replacing them with a triplet would be an example of diminution. For in-depth explanation of these ideas, check out Hal Crook's book, How to Improvise. I have no financial interest in any of the books I mention on these videos. They're just useful resources for me. This week's line is a simple example using the idea of rhythmic displacement. Rhythmic displacement occurs when you start a motif on a different beat. So let's look specifically at the line of the week. In measure 1, you've got the original motif, meaning the melodic rhythm using notes from the chord scale. In measure 2, you've got a fragment of the original motif, the first four, meaning the first 4/8 notes, followed by a half note extension. In measures 3 to 4, you've got the original motif rhythmically displaced by 2 beats. In measure 5, you've got a variation of the original motif. In measure 6, you've got another fragment of the original motif followed by a half note extension. And in measures 7 to 8, you've got the original motif rhythmically displaced by 2 beats. In this video series, I talk about two broad concepts in jazz that also apply to other types of music, and that is motif development and tension and release. We went over the motif for this week. Let's talk quickly about the resolution of tension in this line. Please note the points of resolution of tension by half step. At the point of chord change, it's important to resolve non-harmonic tones, meaning avoid notes or disagreeable tones, by half step to an agreeable note. You can resolve tension either directly, meaning immediately, or indirectly within a beat and a half. In other words, at the point of chord change, you only leap from a note if it's agreeable, meaning harmonic, to both the chord of the moment and the next chord. Otherwise, you need to resolve the note, preferably by half step. In this line of the week, we resolve tension at the point of chord change in one place, circled in red. At the end of measure 1, going into measure 2, note C under the A flat major 7 chord resolves by half step into note B under E major 7. This is because note C is not chord sound to E major 7, and your pitch memory is such that you will your ear will recall hearing the note C when E major 7 is sounded, so you need to resolve it by half step if you want to follow traditional rules of tension and release. Of course, you don't have to if you don't want to. So that's all for this week. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.